This lady is the first Black woman to drive TTC streetcar. And based on the opening of the magazine where we're doing the documentation for the history here in Toronto, it is ideal that we have somebody like her on to authenticate part of the TTC information. So without further ado, I would ask you, ma'am, if you could introduce yourself and give me a little bit of your background.
My name is Irma James. I am from Trinidad. I grew up in the village called Mayaro. As a young girl growing up, I grew up among a lot of boys. I had 3 brothers and then other friends. So I grew up with them. I had to be wearing pants because I was with the boys all this time. We shoot crab, we play cricket, I cook crab, we play cops and robbers on the weekend. And that was my passion then. Then an older brother of mine was a contractor, so he had a small truck. I used to drive the truck because I had license. After that, I have a younger brother that had a Harley Davidson motorbike. I used to ride that. So I love driving, I love riding and stuff like that. That is why they call me a tomboy, because I did everything that boys did.
Okay, so question on that is, seeing that you did everything boys did though, the driving part, I mean, you could have stayed a footballer, you could have stayed different things. What about the driving appeal to you?
I love driving.
Speed
Because I drove
just point A to point B, being having your own ride, or it's the convenience of it, or the technology?
I had a vehicle after, because I had a grocery shop. So I always was in the driving part of this.
Okay. So now you did that in Miari, you said. Was that in Miari?
Yes.
Or you went in another part? Your business
No,
in Miari too?
yes, I born in Mayaro. I grew up in Mayaro until I come to Canada.
Okay.
So all this was happening in Mayaro.
Okay, and what year you came to Canada?
To Canada in May of 1971.
And we know you're associated and was married to a popular player here. I would have to ask you to set up this thing. Were you married when you came to Canada prior to coming to Canada, or you got married in Canada?
Prior to coming to, I came to Canada after being married in Trinidad.
Okay. When you came to Canada, what was the place like? And you know, what was your adaptation?
Arrived in Canada, I kind of already had a job set up. A friend already had hooked me up to get a job, and I came. I came here the Friday night, and I was working on the Tuesday morning. My first job was as an inspector in a leather factory. The name of that factory was Tilly of Canada. They made all kind of leather stuff. As an inspector, my duty was after the products are finished, they bring them to my room where I was working at the time as checking the leather works for the stitching, the snapping, the zipping, to make sure everything is okay before I go back out to in the factory to be packed and shipped out. In those days, it was very, very easy to get a job, but I already had a job kind of lined up waiting for me. So I was living at Dufferin and King. I used to take the streetcar to go to Ronsonville, change at Ronsonville, and goes to Humber Loop, and at the 2-3 stops up the street, I used to work there.
Okay. Now, you notice she's talking about the number of stops and stuff. And this is the purpose why she's on the program. Her terminology is strictly TTC, how many stops and stuff. So when you're getting a job that early, how was the adaptation and stuff, and the prices of things?
Price at the time was $1.65 an hour. That was the starting price in Canada. I did one job, I changed, I got another job. You could get a job like flicking your finger. Once you was out there, you could change. You could leave a job today and get another job tomorrow. That's how good it was in Canada at that time. After that, you met friends, you got your little room and kitchen or a flat, which was $75 a month for rent. You get a room and kitchen as a single person, and you move on from there. You go to work, you change your job, whatever. After that, now you're gonna go get your stuff, which was at Honestead at Blow and Batters. You're gonna furnish your whole little place for that $5 a week.
What was the Honestead? How did you know about Honestead, and what was that Honestead experience like?
You meet friends at work, because they were here before me. They carry me around, show me how to get through, how to get the apartment. Then they said, we got to go to Honestead to furnish the apartment. But it wasn't an apartment, it was a room and kitchen or flats in a building. We went down to Honestead, and you could get from A to Z at Honestead. Your pots, your pans, your drapes, your bedding, everything you get at Honestead. Your next venture out was you're going to the grocery. At Dufferin and Queen, there was a grocery there named Ushers. When you go in Ushers with $20, you could fill a buggy, which is a shopping cart, with $20. Produce, fish, everything that you wanted for cooking was there. After you get those things, after you pay, you say, can I have some chicken foot, some pig foot, something else. Anyway, with all of that, now you spend $20. They're giving you this chicken foot and this pig foot. When you ask for that, they put in a plastic bag and they give you. You don't pay for those. Then you leave there and you go to the beer store. You could pick up a pack of 12 beers or stout, whichever one you want. They will spend about $25. With all of them telling you there, that's about $25.
That means you had a job, you make ends meet, as we say. How did you change jobs, and why did you change job? Did you go to school? If I remember in the preamp, you mentioned going to, I think it was Humble or one of these schools. Is that correct?
Yes. So after you do a couple of factory jobs, you came here to improve yourself, to get a better life or whatever. So you decide to go to school. You go to the government, you fill out the application, you get through. And the first school I went to was Humber College. Take a clerk typist course. Over there, graduated. Over there, looking for a job. You can't find anything because they want 2 and 3 years experience. I went to another business college and I took key punch operator and I took 2 courses there. Out there again, no jobs. Everybody wants experience. You just come from school, you have no experience. So I went and drive a school bus. Driving the school bus, before I drove the school bus, I told my friends at school, because we take the bus to go to school, I want to be TTC first Black woman driver. You see, go for it, girlie, that's what you want. But I never see women driving the bus.
If we could stop run there. If you're telling your friends you want to be the first TTC bus driver, was that before you drive the school bus?
While going to school, we used to take a bus to go to school. So I keep looking around. Then I said to the girls one day, I said, you know something? I want to be TTC first Black woman driver to drive a bus. I couldn't get jobs with the courses I took. I went on now to drive a school bus. Okay. I drove 2 types of buses. I drove for Always and Travelways, 2 different school buses.
I want to know, what was your thinking to evolve into driving the TTC bus? Were you not fulfilled driving the school bus, or you just were looking for bigger and better things?
To answer your question, I was looking for bigger and better things. Being a driver from Trinidad with driving big vehicles, when I came here, I figured, well, I like to do this, but I had to start somewhere else before I end up there.
Is that based on your love for the automobile, or just being the first to do something?
When it's coming from home, because I used to drive trucks home, I drove my brother's truck, so I used to a big vehicle. So when I come here, I didn't see any woman driving. That's what held me back a little bit, because I keep looking at it, but I want to drive this bus. I haven't seen any women driving. I saw a woman driving TTC bus. So I said to myself, yes, women driving, so I'm going to go put in an application. I found out where to go, Davenport and Batters. I put in an application there and continued driving my school bus. One day, after coming in the morning run, there's the drawing on the table of a bus and a note on the side of the bus saying, Mom, Mr. Gary Andrews from TTC called. And he said to tell you when I get in to call him back. But on that same level, she said to me, which is my daughter said to me, Mom, Mr. Gary from Andrews from TTC called, I think it's big bus time. So when I called him back, he said, Irma, you had two intelligent girls there. They had me going, asked me all kind of question and all kind of which I answered. He said, okay, what I want you to do now is to come down to Davenport and have an interview with me, personal, like person to person. Then he told me what I have to do. He gave me another application form stating to come in to do an aptitude test, and then according to what happened after that, we'll see what we could do, which he already knows. He said, I already know what my intention towards you. Give me the aptitude test. I think another day I went in for the test. I got the test. I passed the test. Then you have to go for training. They'll train you to drive, whether it's the streetcar, the subway, the bus, whatever. But not knowing I won't be driving a bus, they train me on a streetcar. Anything you have to do with it, you get trained on it, whether it's the streetcar, the bus, a mechanic, roadwork, everything. That happened. Coming one day, I got a call. Roma, you passed the test, you had to come in for training. I went in for training for 14 days. After the 14 days, you did your exam, passed the exam again, and there's a saying, now you got your wings, go out there and move to Toronto, which I did. So this is how my life in TTC started.
Okay. When you said that he sort of knew what his intentions were in terms of you doing the test and everything else, was he or were you aware that you were going to be the first Black woman driving the streetcar?
No, but you have to go through the ropes. You have to do the test. You have to pass the test. Then you go training, which is 14 days training. After you do the training, you have to pass the training again to get your wings. Okay. To move to Toronto, which I did.
And how was seeing Toronto from your first job and seeing Toronto now from the streetcar? And let me ask you before I go to that one, seeing that you anticipated the bus and it ended up streetcar, was that more challenging for you? Because it seemed like you like the challenges. You wasn't comfortable with the school bus. So
no.
So you like that one, right?
I was in heaven. That's what I wanted. When I saw the streetcar, I said, I'm going to be trained on the streetcar. Yes. Yes.
How did Toronto look from you from up on that streetcar and you know, and having your people coming in and the collection? What was the collection?
Was the first one.
Okay.
This was the first one, which is the old one, which they call it PCC.
Can I see the front of it? Can you turn it to see the front of it?
Yeah.
Okay, yes. And is that the one that was showing you with the picture? The picture?
No. It was this one.
Oh, okay.
This was the CLRV, Canada Light Rail Vehicle.
Okay. Now, could you break that down for us? The one you showed first, that was the first one, if I remember correctly.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, difference in operational in terms of you driving it, or is it the same and just easier to drive? Is one easier or more adaptable? Or
I wouldn't say it was easier. It was just a different way it was set up inside. All right, you come from a Volkswagen.
Okay, well, when you doing that, if you could have it in your hand without being by your face, if you could break it down with it in your hand, it would make sense.
You seen it? You seen it here?
No. About your shoulder. Yes, right. I'll drop it a little more.
This is sideways and this is the front.
Right. Okay. So that is good. Right there. You can keep it right there. Can you explain with it right there?
Okay. This was the old, more like a metal kind. PCC. While we driving the PCC, they brought in CLRV, the bigger, longer one.
Do you know the time duration? Is it 1 year, 5 years later, 10 years later? Based on your experience of driving there?
When you say it was 10 years later, they were together. This was the first one.
Oh, the same.
While this one, yeah, they brought in this one.
Okay, all right.
It's just a question. This was like, you know, have a Volkswagen to a Cadillac. Okay. It was just an upgrade, but both of them used to be running at the same time.
So let me hear.
Some days you drive this, and some days you get this. According to how they set you up on the line.
Yeah. So how was it for you? The different ones?
Very good. Very good.
So if they came a morning and they say, Irma, listen, we have this one for you. Are you looking forward to driving one or the other, or it didn't really matter?
It doesn't really matter, but you couldn't choose. In the yard, have the different lines. The setup is the guys at the shed that put out the runs. So your name coming from the office to the back. When the clerks send out well, not me alone, but everybody else, when they send that sheet to the back, according to the lines you're driving, they set up. Sometimes the line is one of this and one of that. Okay. You don't get all on once and they mix them. So you don't really know what you're going to be driving until you get to the back in the mornings.
Okay. Here,
on both.
Here's the picture I have. The picture I have is like any other assignment. They assign you to wherever. You get your assignment. The streetcar is already on the line assigned. And you just go to it. So when you go to it, whether it's one of the new one or the Volkswagen, as you say, or whatever, you just jump in it and do your route, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But before you leave the office, it's on the board. In the office, as I'm going to tell you now, there are different lines. There's 504, which is King, 501, which is Queen, 504, which is Dundas, and 506, which is Carlton.
It have east and west. Is that King West or King all the way from one end of the city to the other?
The Queen is from the beaches to Long Branch. The King goes to Broadview and goes up Broadview to the station. 504 do that. 505 come from the west, which is Dundas West, up to Broadview Station. So 2 cars used to go to Broadview Station. But the Queen car goes from the beaches to Long Branch. 506 goes from Hyde Park to Main.
And did you do all those routes?
Yes, you're trained on all the routes.
And how was that? And which ones it was more convenient for you or you liked?
It wouldn't be a convenient as the line you like, which I did like, 506, which is Carlton to Hyde Park to Main Station. So that one goes along College Street. From Main Station, you come and you go along, you go along from Main Station and you go all the way along College Street to Hyde Park and back. That was the route. How you get on the routes is, it have a thing they call sign up for work. You're going to the division and you're going to pick work. And if you pick Carlton 506, according to the length of the period, 4 weeks or 5 weeks or whatever, how long that is, you do that for that duration. If you pick Dundas, you do that for the 5 weeks or how long the period is. So you do something for a while before you change. When you sign up again, you could change the route.
Okay, the main, that's the city itself. That's the core of the city. The main that you talk about is the main street with the streetcar line, really. That's between Woodbine by Greenwood up there, right? That's by Greenwood up there. That's in the east end.
East end.
Right, but does it go on Gerard to come back up? Where does it cut back to get onto College? Is that Parliament?
No. Anytime you see Parliament is when they short turn you. Short turn is like if you're going.
How do you get to College from Main?
Pardon?
How do you get to College Street from Main?
You're crossing College Street.
Okay.
You go to Main Station.
Right.
You pick up your passengers and you come at Gerard is where you pick up 50, because it come along and it crosses Gerard. It come along Gerard and you crosses like Young, Batters, and you're heading for Hyde Park. You're kind of coming through the city.
Okay. Maybe I had a little block in that I couldn't remember the streetcar going through from past Young into the other side of the city. I couldn't recall that. Okay.
Yes, yes.
All right.
But when you come to Dundas and King, they turn and go up to that station. But the one that goes from one end to the city to the other, that will be the 501, which is Queen. From the beaches, and you go straight along to Long Branch.
Okay.
You understand that?
Yeah, yeah. So, okay, so you're into all this. When did you discover that you were the first Black person? Obviously, you look around and you wasn't seeing anybody, but you can't take that for granted because it's a big city. When were you aware that you were the only Black person? How soon were you?
When I got hired, it was on the Share newspaper. I got hired and I was out there driving. My first route I picked was Carlton Line, which is the same 506. So you're going through the city and people saying, and once there's a Black woman driving, there's a Black woman driving, whatever. But the Share reporter heard about the Black woman and she wanted a story. But sometimes when she go on Dundas, I'm on Carlton. When she go on Carlton, I'm some we changed routes at a different time. And she asked another operator and he said, that lady is working on Main. So when I went up to Main one morning, this lady sit on the bench and she introduced herself and then she told me, I've been looking for you for a couple of weeks and couldn't find you. But instead when I tell her, you work different routes at different time. She introduced herself and told me, she's from the Share. So she came on and she sat and we drove to High Park. And when we got to High Park, we sit in there because normally you get there a little bit early. And we sit there, we started to talk and interview me and this and that. And then she took out the picture. I think you have a clipping with me standing by the streetcar in High Park.
Yes. No.
Right.
You mentioned also in the preamble that you also drive the subway train. How was that for you? Is that something you wanted to do, something you applied for, or they just recommended you?
Once you're inside TTC, you could change to any other departments. Even the guys on the road could change from being on the road to get into the streetcar, to get into a bus. You're in there and you just have to put in an application that you want to do this and they will switch you over. You don't have to put in a different you don't have to do anything else but request that you want to do whatever. The
question is, were you looking for more fulfillment by moving to the TTC train?
Yes, I did.
Why was that?
It was challenging. It was challenging, but I like the challenge. So I go from this, that, I just wanted to do everything. I end up in collecting and all.
How was driving the subway train? It
was a different setup completely. The train is different from the streetcar and the buses completely. You're underground and sometimes you come above ground.
Yeah.
But the train was you're in a little booth by yourself and you drive the train with a truck, something like this. You can leave the station, coming down, some of the station is long, and you're coming in the subway at full blast. And when you reach halfway inside the subway, you crank the brakes all away, and then you come back and slow it down to stay at the station. So it's a different setup from buses and streetcars.
How did you like that experience compared to the streetcar?
I wasn't on it for long because I told my mother died New Year's Day and I had to go home. And when I came back, I got a nervous, because she died sudden. I got a nervous breakdown. And then I didn't ask to go back down, but they realized I was nervous. So they put me down in collecting, down in the subway now where you sell the tickets from the booth. And after a while, I went back up to the streetcars. There's somebody they call the supply man. He comes in every week and he gives you your supply. This, that, tickets, tokens, whatever.
But if I remember correctly, when I did, you could buy it right there and stick one in and go through the turnstile still too.
Yes, that is it.
Right. So some people could forget to put it in, they buy it and they just, I guess
they forget to put nothing. Anytime it won't open because you jam it that you can't turn it.
That's
They'll
right.
come and throw a dime. They'll come and throw a dime for you. And when you see that dime, you just put your foot on a little and they can't go in because you jam the thing by your foot. So they cannot, the thing wouldn't turn, the turnstile wouldn't turn.
All right. So let's get a little piece of the football now before. Within that time, I mean, I've been on to you, I never saw the article. Your name being called on the circuit with somebody being interviewed and mentioned the fact that Errol's wife was the first woman to drive the Streetcar. And that's
Yes.
where, and then I spoke to Boyd, and while he was talking about Errol, he mentioned that he just talked to you, and then I said, wow,
Yeah.
okay, link me up. So now,
Yeah.
were you around the Unity?
Yes,
So
I was. That's where Errol played ball.
right.
Errol
So
played ball
were
with
you
Boy and Danny and all these people.
so were you a strong supporter, or were you one of the ladies who were about your career and he had his career, and were you into the soccer here?
Oh yeah, big time.
So you've been crying a lot when Irie and West Indies beat you up.
That's a good one. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
You
I
know,
was around.
but Bill was the kind of guy who would score anything. He scored at all costs. He used to give up his
Yes,
body and
he'll be on the ground and he's still scoring goals.
yeah.
He went back home. He drove streetcar too for a while and then he ended up going back home.
Was it streetcar or the bus? Because somebody told me he did drive TTC, but I didn't know if it was a bus or streetcar.
Streetcar. He was from Roncesvalles Division and I was from the Eastern Division, which is Russell.
Did he drive it before you, or is that how you met him?
No, I got on first and then he got on after.
And that's how you guys got together, or?
No, we were together from back home.
Oh,
Back in Trinidad.
Oh, okay.
I came up and he followed me up.
Okay.
He was from the Western Division, I was from the Eastern Division. So sometimes we cross one another like this, if we on the same line.
And just for informing the public.
He went back to Trinidad. He went back to Trinidad.
Okay. All right. So anything about the football that you can recall? Did you ever go? I know Unity was very shy to go on Flemington Park. Were you aware of the Flemington Park League?
Yeah, because they used to play all about.
So what you thought about the Flemington Park League? Because it is the main thing we're going to be covering in this documentation. So I wanted to know if you were part of the Flemington experience.
Yes, I was.
And what you thought about that experience?
It was good.
Did you hang out or you just passed through, or what was it?
No. Like when they're going games, when you work with this, you get 2 days off. And according to where they're playing or what they're playing, I could be able to go to the games if I'm off on that day.
No, but what about the knowledge of Flemington Park as a hangout place? Besides the football, I
didn't have time to hang out.
Right. That's the answer I want.
Yes. When I'm not working, I'm home baking or doing something. But if it's Unity, I follow them all where they go. As I said, if I'm off. Sometimes when I'm working, he carry the girls with him to soccer. Sometimes when I come back home, they hear Cobb and Kane run up the girls and them, so take care of one another.
Okay.
Everybody to really go and hang out with on Flemington. Because when we going for the ball, once I'm off, I would go with him.
Okay. So now from just doing this with you, I understand you have 2 girls and you have this gentleman here who helping you tremendously.
That's my grandson.
Yeah, I know. So if you have to wrap up their whole experience now of when you look back at it, being the first Black woman to drive in the streetcar, having that experience, and your whole experience, if how you wrap that up with the whole cultural experience of Toronto, your streetcar experience and everything else, give us a real wrap, how you look at it.
I look at it as getting upliftment from coming from Trinidad. You come here as a country girl, I was from the country. You did this, you did that, you went to school, you get your degrees and everything like that. You end up driving a streetcar. Life in Canada was very good for me, very good. I enjoyed all that I did, especially driving a streetcar. I handled that with because when the woman interviewed me at Hyde Park, she said there and we going to Hyde Park on the run. When we reached Hyde Park, she talked to me and things like that. She said, man, I am so proud. She was so proud about the way I handled the public. But she sit with me and we went to Hyde Park. So she realized, she was amazed how I handled the big vehicle to start with. And then how I dealt with the public. And to be there for 24 years and 5 months, or whatever the case was.
Okay.
It was a very good experience.
Okay, if I may, based on what you're saying there, you are talking about somebody coming back to interview you based on your retirement and your experience with TTC if I remember correctly, you told me you had 2 interviews prior to this.
Yeah.
And, right. So I guess that's what you're talking about. So could you tell us now what that was in aid of?
It was Black History Month. And the second one, Bongo, was the Women's Something Day, International Women's Day.
Okay.
So the first interview was the woman from TTC, and the international woman had a second interview. So it was 2 different things completely.
Was that so? Those 2 that you did prior to is were they in the same year or were they years apart?
Yeah, that was sometime this year, Bongo, earlier this year.
Yes.
It was earlier this year.
Okay.
Black History Month was one.
And that's 2021 you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Let's call that 3 interviews. The one for the TTC was in '83. And then this year was the Black History Month and the International Women's Day.
I would like to hear about the TTC one. What's the TTC one was about?
That's when the woman went with me to High Park and picked up the share.
And then you have the Black History one.
Black History Month, and then the International Women's Day. And I know you.
Okay. So you're very distinguished, accomplished. It shows that women could do anything they want to do.
Anything you want.
Yeah, I'm proud of you. One of the days with the tomboy business, that don't really matter anymore. And I want to thank you for representing the community over all those years, handling yourself well, and having people coming to you now and staying up and staying in good health. And thanks for the information and everything else.
Thank you.
All right, so you take care.
All right, you take care too.